Hey, welcome to JG3 Reviews. My name is James and I review fountain pens and related things. And today I've got another pen. That's a big surprise, right? He's got another pen. This is the Muji Fountain Pen. Now, some of you have asked me to review this, tell you what I think, compare it to another pen or two. And so we're going to do that today. Also, I just was intrigued by the pen. The more that I saw about it and heard people talk about how much they liked it, of course, that made me interested. But then I went online, was looking over the pen. I thought, that does kind of fit with some things that I really like. I like a metal pen. And so, recently I reviewed the Hongdian, I'm probably not saying that right, but the Black Forest pen. And I really, really like that pen. And somebody said, well, have you compared it to the Muji? And of course, at that time, I had not. So I placed an order for this pen. You can get these on Amazon. Obviously, Muji has their own stores. It's a Japanese store with high quality goods, and really at least for the fountain pen, an affordable price. You might have seen them here in the U.S. in some major airports or things. There is a store or two, I believe, in New York and some other airports. But you may have come across this. But I got mine on Amazon, which some of you like, and clearly from some of the comments, some of you don't like, and I understand that. But that's where this pen was available for me and where I live. And so I will put that link in the description below. But this pen has really impressed me. I'm going to go ahead and give you that sneak preview. It really has impressed me. I really have enjoyed the Muji pen. So let's go ahead and jump right into the design of the pen, close-up view, how it comes to you and all that good stuff. And then, of course, the all-important writing test we will get to as well. And I'll share with you what I like and don't like. And that's a short list about this Muji fountain pen. Let's dive right in. All right, so here is the Muji pen, Muji fountain pen. It is aluminum, and so it is a very light pen, and I will put the specifications up here when I edit the video. But it is a really nice light pen if you like a nice light pen. So if you're looking for something heavier, I'll have something for you next week as we look at the light brass pen. But this one is really nice and light. It is machined for the grip, and they've done a really good job. Very well done, and not at all. Sometimes that can be a little uncomfortable or sharp, especially if you grip a little bit more tightly, which you do not need to do with this pen. This has such a good secure grip because of that machining that you can hold this pen very lightly. So if you're looking for a light pen that you can hold lightly, maybe you have arthritis or some issues there, this would be a good pen if you want light and doesn't require good grip. And if you like a metal pen, but one that doesn't slip within your hand, then this is going to tick a few of those buttons. So the cap, let's look at the cap. The cap, very tightly done. See those tolerances? Very impressive. Has just a steel clip, and it's good and strong, no problem there. It's a little bit of a small clip. Of course, if you're looking at it compared to, say, a Lamy, that gives you an idea of maybe a different approach to the size of a clip from a Lamy. Those are like the two extremes maybe. But it is nicely done. I really like this pen. The top is just a very simple darker circle within the center of the cap, and the same goes for the bottom of the barrel, except that you have a gap between the outer metal of the barrel and the finial inside. And the reason for that is because this is the way that this cap posts. And so you slide that in there. It's a bit tight, and so you turn it a little bit as you put it in, and it goes in a little bit more easily. But you will notice that that is nice and tight tolerance. So manufacturing really good on this pen. I have been impressed. It goes the same for the grip section. You'll notice that there is a gap there, and again, this is hard to do around the camera, but that's so that will go right in, and it has a nice snick, so that's good. And let's look at the nib. The nib, let's focus, is nicely done, has a nice design on it. This is a fine nib, and with an iridium point. I'm not sure who manufactures the nib, but they do a good job. I really do like the way that this pen writes, as I'll show you here in a little bit. Now, one thing that you'll notice, as that does step down, this also has a plastic feed, by the way, but this also, as you unscrew the barrel, you can also unscrew the section and remove that. So that's doable. I'm not going to take it any further apart than that because I do have ink in this pen, but that all comes apart just to help in cleaning. I don't know that you'd ever need to do that particular move to do that, but it's there. It did not come with a converter, and I will include information on whether or not that takes an international converter here when I do my editing. I'll add that in. But that does come with an international short, and so far I'm still using the one that came with it, which is just kind of a generic black ink. Don't know who made it. But that's the design of the pen. I like it. Very simple, minimalist, modern design, and very well executed. I think they've done a good job, especially when you consider the price of this pen, because this is a very affordable fountain pen. So, with all of that, let's get to the writing test. All right, now I did neglect a second ago to give you some size comparison, and I'd like to do that. This is a Lamy Safari by comparison, and that's actually pretty close, as you can see in size. This is, let me let go of that, the Waterman that I tested just the other day, and they are just nearly identical in size, as you can see there. So very, very similar. If that gives you some idea between those two pens, this is the Hongdian. Very, very similar. All these pens in size, if not in the way they're made and in the way that they write. So that gives you some idea that you might want to be able to compare to. Okay, so this is the Muji pen from the stores in Japan. I've never gotten to go to one of those stores, but I'd like to now. I'd like to see what else they've got. And it is, again, it's made of aluminum, very light, steel nib. Looks to be a number 5, but that's just a guess. I double checked that. But I don't know that I would care to swap the nib out. I really do like this nib. It is a fine, and I would say it's kind of maybe a fine to a little bit of medium, but that's just my own standard. You know, all the pens have their own, all the pen makers have their own. And this is just the black ink that comes in the pen. So that's kind of an unknown for me. I don't know who makes their ink, but there you are. It's a nice black ink, as standard black inks go. It's a fairly quiet, smooth nib. You can see there, doesn't make a lot of noise. There's just a hint of feedback, and that's pretty common with a pen this light. Just a hint of feedback in a good way, but not even to the level of a pencil-like or a platinum type feedback. There's not that. Very, very smooth, good nib. So nothing to fret about there. Good pen. As I may have said earlier, this pen is so nice and light that if you're somebody that's trying to learn not to hold with such a tight grip and to kind of loosen that up, because you can't, wow, I can't talk and do the alphabet at the same time sometimes. I think maybe after F comes G. Look at that. What do you know? But it's a pen that I think is a good pen if you're trying to loosen your grip a little bit, because you can with this machining and just write a little bit lighter. There's not, here, let me do that. That tells you how wet that is. It does write a little bit wet for a fine. There are some pens I have that are fines that write a very dry line, which is good. I use those on purpose with papers that tend to have a little bit more ghosting and bleed through. And so, I kind of purposefully keep those around. This one is a bit wetter, and that may be your preference anyway. Not bad at all. Let me just kind of show you here. It doesn't do just kind of a lot of line variation just in normal writing, because it is just a standard steel nib. And I wouldn't push it, because I think you actually can probably coax a little bit, but I don't know how long the nib is going to put up with you doing that. I would just treat it as a standard steel nib for durability's sake. And I think if you do that, because this is such a well-made aluminum pen, you're talking about a pen that's going to last you for a really long time. The only plastic on the entire pen I saw besides the feed is this screw-in section that holds the feed. Everything else is metal on the outside. Just a really great knockabout pen. It's an affordable pen, and unless you're just, it's a minimalist design, and you might be a minimalist who only wants to have 4 or 5 pens around. Otherwise, if you don't care about how many pens you have around, you need to go ahead and get this one and add that to your set or collection or whatever you've got. Because I would highly recommend this pen, and it's yet another pen. I've given you lots of options for trying to penable some people into the fountain pen world. This is another one. There are people who are going to really appreciate that aesthetic. I like it. I've gotten a lot of questions. When I've had this, I don't get a lot of questions about my pens. I don't use a fountain pen to get attention. I think that's kind of odd. But sorry, I did let that slip out, didn't I? I don't do it to get attention, but I neither judge you nor shame you if you do. That's just not me. But this one, actually, I had a table of engineers, friends of mine who are all retired engineers, and this is the first fountain pen that I've ever been taking notes with while we were together, where they all said, "Hey, I need to see that. Let me see that thing." And they immediately really liked this pen. So you may have somebody in your life like that. This may be just the pen for them. All right. That is the Muji Fountain Pen, another great find, and I appreciate people who encouraged me in the comments, hey, you do need to go ahead and try this, because this is a great pen. And I think that pen compared to the Hongdian, how would I compare these two? This one has more weight and heft. If that's what you're looking for, then this is the pen I would give you. If you are looking for a pen that's lighter, then this is the pen that I would go with. And everything else being equal, and they pretty well are, they both write about as smoothly. They're both high quality pens, at least the two that I've got. I have enjoyed them both. They write really well, and I have zero complaints about either of these pens. It just comes down to which one you like the best after you look at the difference in weight and style and that sort of thing. Both excellent pens. So, God bless you. Have a good week. Stay safe and stay healthy through all this corona stuff. I hope you're doing well. See you next week.